Hello friends, this video on anatomy of flowering plants part 6 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exam. We will talk about complex permanent tissue. What was simple permanent tissue? Those tissues which are made up of similar type of cells. Now we will see what is complex permanent tissue. What are they made up of? Now these tissues are made up of many types of cells. It is not just one type of cell but many different types of cells. So that is why the situation becomes complex or complicated here. So many different types of cells. So now we have to study about all the different types of cells present in a complex permanent tissue. Now here the cells coordinate to perform a specific or common function. Now the question is, if in this case many different types of cells are present, how will that coordination happen? Because earlier it was like all the cells were similar and they all decided. You remember I gave you an example of a class with 50 students where we divide the work of annual day amongst the 50 students, right? But now it is something like there all the students were like similar. All the students were of class 5. Now let us suppose you still have the same school annual day, but now you have 50 students, you have 10 teachers and you have 10 parents who are going to participate, and now you have to divide the work amongst them. So now the cells or the participants, they are of different types. Some are students, some are teachers, some are parents. So how do you need to do it? So there has to be a coordination between the teacher, the students and the parents, and then they have to perform in such a way that they are able to achieve their goal. Right? So the similar scenario happens in case of complex permanent tissue. So here also the cells are not all similar. They are all dissimilar cells, but they coordinate with each other to perform a specific or a common function. Now examples of complex permanent tissue, when I talk about complex permanent tissue in plant, we are going to talk about two tissues, xylem and phloem. So xylem and phloem, these are together often called as the vascular bundle of the plant. What is the meaning of vascular? Vascular means nothing but conducting. That is the tissues which conducts. What do they conduct? That we will see little later. But these are the conducting tissues of the plants. So now we will talk about xylem and phloem in detail a little later. So now we will talk about xylem and phloem in detail. So these structures might be confusing you that they look so complicated, correct? But once we talk about each of them, we will talk about the different types of cells which compose each xylem and phloem. So let us talk about xylem and phloem collectively first. As I mentioned before also, xylem and phloem together constitute the vascular bundles, and the term vascular means something with vessels to conduct. So it is related to some vessels which helps in conducting. So in conducting what? What do you think in a plant? Conduction of what is important for the survival of a plant? Different parts of the plant needs nutrients. Different parts of the plant needs water. It also needs food, right? So all these things are needed by each and every part of the plant. Now, who prepares food in a plant? We all know the process of photosynthesis, and this process of photosynthesis happens only in the leaves of the plant. But it is not only the leaves who need food, the entire plant needs it. That is, the roots also need food, the stems also need food, the flowers also need, every part of the plant need food. Similarly, water. Who brings water to the plant? It is primarily brought into the plant through the roots, but it is needed by leaves, stems and other parts as well. So we need some vessels which will actually help in conducting these food, nutrients and water to different parts of the plant. So these vessels are nothing but the vascular bundles, that is xylem and phloem. So we are going to talk about the structure of xylem and phloem here. So these are nothing but the conducting tissues. So now first we'll talk about xylem. Now xylem are mostly dead cells. When I say mostly, not all of them are dead, but most of them are dead. They conduct water and minerals from roots to the stem and leaves. So this will conduct only water and minerals from root to stem. That means it conducts water and minerals upward. So xylem has a specific direction for conduction, and that direction is upward from root to stems and leaves. Now, what are the different elements it is made up of? As I said, these are complex tissues. That is, these are made up of many different types of cells. So these cells will vary in structure. They'll also vary in their function. So each of them will perform different function, but all of these different functions together will perform a collective function for the xylem. Correct? So basically there are 4 elements the xylem is composed of: tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma, and xylem fibers. So these are the 4 elements of xylem. Now we will talk about each of these elements in little more detail. We will see how they look like, or how is their structure, what is their function, and how is the function of each element synchronized with the other. So in this picture, you can actually see how each of them look like. So if you look at a tracheid, it looks like a tubular structure, quite thin with tapering ends, right? Looking at a vessel, it looks little more wider. However, this is also a tube-like structure. We see some dotted structures, some pore-like structures. Again, xylem parenchyma, it looks almost like parenchyma cell with cytoplasm and nucleus. So the appearance itself tells us that the structure of each of these elements is quite different. They are not similar. So we are convinced with one thing, that okay, xylem cannot be a simple permanent tissue because it is made up of different types of cells. Now let us talk about each of these elements. Thank you. Please visit www.examfear.com to watch more videos, attempt free online test, get free study material, find tutors and mentors. Thank you once again.